playful lyrics. Again, so Lawler, a little bit naughty. So in this video, I'm going to be doing a full retrospective of every single mix CD that Steve Lawler's released, including CDs that came on the cover of magazines, starting all the way back in the year 2000 up to the year 2012, which if I'm not mistaken, that was his last official release as a mix CD. Steve Lawler was the first DJ that really showed me how the craft of DJing can become an art form. I know that sounds a little bit pretentious, but just hear me out on this. I'd never heard any other DJ before him create such a unique, personal, idiosyncratic sound. You know, one that was instantly recognizable as that DJ. But Steve did that. The first time I heard him was actually Millennium Night. So 1999, me and a bunch of my friends all bundled down into London. I was currently at university at the time in my second year, so I would have been 19. And, you know, we walked around London quite aimlessly for a lot of the evening. We were feeling a little bit deflated because we didn't quite have, up to that point anyway, we didn't quite have the kind of wild, crazy, fun night that we thought we would, you know. It was getting on for midnight, we were walking through Leicester Square, and we got approached by a promoter for Home Nightclub, which was right on Leicester Square at the time. I was only vaguely aware of this. And we decided, what the hell, let's go there. We actually had to pay £100 each to get in, which that's a lot of money even now. But back then, you know, it was the earth to us. But we scraped the money together, just about. We didn't have any more money left for drinks or anything like that, but I'm telling you, it did not matter one bit. We got into that club just before midnight. We didn't leave until gone 7 in the morning. We had the night of our lives, and for much of that night, Steve Lawler was on the decks. And I can remember a point in the evening after he'd been on for maybe half an hour, pretty much all at the same time, we looked at each other and asked, you know, who is this DJ? We need to find out his name. The Steve Lawler effect. It's something that a lot of people, when they first hear him, sort of, you know, they want to know who the hell is this guy. And from then on, I've just been a huge fan. I've seen him several times since, not as many as I would like, but a few. And I've bought every mix CD that he's ever released. Apologies for the long preamble here, but there was just something else I wanted to cover, which was the topic of the mix CD. This, you know, rather antiquated way of consuming and listening to music, I guess, these days.
And that's it. The biggest revolution in the recording industry since the invention of the long-playing gramophone record, but this is no ordinary disc. Just 12 centimeters in diameter, the music is recorded onto it digitally, and there's no needle being dragged through a groove. That information is being read by a laser light.
I feel, you know, over the last 20 years, maybe certainly within dance music, there's become a bit more of a throwaway attitude to how we consume and listen to it. And that's understandable, because obviously we've got just an immense amount of content, immense amount of music, so readily available at our fingertips, you know, that, yeah, maybe there is this perception of it being undervalued to some degree. When I look back over these CDs that I'm going to be talking about, you know, you can read in some of the inlays, and I have heard DJs from this time talk about putting these CDs together. They would labour over some of these for months on end. I mean, there's one particular CD, the Newbridge CD that Steve Lawler released for Global Underground, where he talks about, you know, having sleepless nights putting this together. Yeah, that level of commitment, and you know what it meant to him to get this right. I think it really shows, and it does for a lot of mix CDs from around that time by the best DJs. You know, the quality stands out, and they're re-listenable. You know, some of these CDs I've listened to, I'm not exaggerating, maybe as much as 100 times, but that good. Now, I'm listening to a lot of podcasts by DJs at the moment, and obviously we're getting a bunch of live streams going on, and they're great. Will I be listening to them in the same ones in 20 years' time? I doubt it. I doubt it. So anyway, enough of that. Obviously, Lawler's been very active since 2012, and his particular radio show, Nightlife, is fantastic. It's monthly, and he's just hit the 50th episode. So you can catch them all on Mixcloud for free, which, wow. So the first CD that I want to talk about was, I believe, the first one released. The reason why I can't be sure about this is because in the year 2000, there were 3 releases. I'm not 100% sure which came first, which came second, which came third. But I'm going to have a little bit of a guess at that, an educated guess. I suspect it would have been this one. Hopefully you can see that. So this is the Home Mix CD, a 2-mix compilation. CD1 is called Home House, CD2 is called Home Progressive. It gives you a sense of what to expect. And this was the sound of my Millennium Night from 1999. When I listen to this, it just takes me straight back to that night. It's exactly the same style. The style that I guess Steve Lawler became famous for in the late 90s, that Balearic, tribal, sexy, groovy house, that he's known and loved for. Perhaps not quite the same as what he played on the terrace at Space, because obviously this is created for more of a reflection of the home nightclub. So a little bit darker, perhaps a little bit deeper, but really great. And just gives you a flavour, an exact flavour of what that home sound was like back in 99, 2000. Check that out, fantastic CD. Also in 2000, and I believe this probably came next, was Dark Drums, the first of 2 mix CDs that he releases under the Dark Drums brand, umbrella, whatever you want to call it. This is a cool CD. Again, it sort of carries on with that vibe from Home. Perhaps a bit more tribal, actually. A little bit more raw, definitely. It's definitely got an edge to it, this mix CD. And I think possibly one of the reasons for that is that it was recorded live at the time. So there was I'll read what it says on the back of the CD. It says, "This mix was recorded live without the aid of computer technology to capture the true essence of a live set at a club." So the next CD that I want to talk about is this little beauty right here. Is New Breed release for the label Global Underground. I'm sure most of you are familiar with Global Underground. If you're not, they were and still are a huge label in the world of dance music.
They're seen very much so as a benchmark as to what a cool CD should be. Some of the guys they've got on the roster, Dave Seaman, Nick Warren, Sasha, Digweed, really are some amazing DJs. They do have some of the best talent in the world.
Global Underground is basically our attempt to capture just the global nature of dance music. It's a DJ mix series that takes DJs...
Go on holiday.
No, not on holiday. So it's the DJ mix series that takes DJs all over the world.
The New Breed series was an offshoot of the main Global Underground series, where they worked with perhaps at the time lesser known or up and coming DJs. And obviously Steve Lawler got his opportunity to put a mix together for that New Breed series, and he grasped it with both hands. I've probably listened to this mix more than any other Lawler mix, any other DJ mix, full stop. And I would say maybe it is my favourite mix of all time, which I know is a huge thing to say. But the way it's put together, the track selection, the overall vibe and sound, there are several times when listening to it that you'll just have this big grin on your face, and just, for me, the words "cool as fuck" just pop into my head so many times when I'm listening to it, because it's cool as fuck. It really is. I could try and, convey more about why I love this mix so much, but, the proof is in the pudding, and I think it's probably just best that I show you and play you a couple of clips from the second CD, which really just sort of put across what this mix CD is all about. really give you a flavour of why I love it so much and why you should check it out if you haven't listened to it before. So let's jump in. I'll react to this as I'm listening to it as well, and maybe make the odd comment as it's playing. I might even break out into a little dance move, which I apologise for in advance. So here we go. Those drums are just synonymous with Steve Lawler. Very tribal. As are these kind of moody vocals. So cool, so cool. So that's one of my favourite parts on that second CD of the New Breed mix. My other favourite part comes right towards the end. It's kind of like the peak moment of the mix, the bit that it's been building up to, and it just explodes and, you know, tips over into frenzy almost, you know. Fantastically tribal, deep, dark. I'll play it for you. Here we go. Quite minimal. So you get the idea. So, year 2001 comes with his next release, the second of the Dark Drums series, Dark Drums 2. And this for me is the better of the two mixes. I don't think this was recorded live, I might be wrong, but it certainly sounds slicker than the first one. It kind of takes everything that he did with that first Dark Drums, just sort of, you know, smooths it out a little bit, you know, as I say, a little bit slicker, and there are some fantastic moments on this CD. Wonderful, wonderful CD. This next CD was on a magazine cover, Ministry magazine, and it's called Tribal House, mixed by Steve Lawler. And it's a funny one, this. I would describe it as Steve Lawler from that time on steroids. It's just the biggest, fullest powerhouse of a tribal house mix you're ever going to hear. For a magazine cover mix, you know, it's brilliant, and perhaps lacks a little bit of the nuance of, you know, the New Breed CD, for example. But you know, for a free CD on the cover of a magazine, it's phenomenal. Also 2001, for the Ministry magazine, came Homelands, mixed by Steve Lawler. Now this was a mix designed to, I guess, capture the vibe of the Homelands Music Festival, which was very popular in the late 90s, and I think it ran up until maybe 2005, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously it was linked to the Home nightclub. I think it was the same people involved, or the same promoters at the very least. I never went to the festival myself, so I can't honestly say how well this mix CD sort of captures the vibe of that. But what I can say is I've listened to this a bunch of times, and it's a really sophisticated little mix, this. I mentioned before the previous Ministry cover CD perhaps didn't have enough nuance to it. It was a bit too beefy, a bit like a sledgehammer around the head. This builds much more, starts slower, perhaps a little bit slower BPMs to begin with, and takes its time to get you there, wherever there is. Great CD, recommend it, do check it out. So this brings us to the year 2002, and a huge release for Steve this year was the Lights Out compilation on Global Underground. You can see that. Love the artwork on this one, and love the overall design of the inlay and the artwork inside. Really cool stuff. Give you a little glimpse of that. There's a poem in here written by a poet by the name of Vapank Manseed. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'll read this to you in a second, but just to tell you what I think about this mix, and also there is apparently a bit of a story behind this as well. This mix is phenomenal. It's up there in my top 3 Lawler mixes of all time. Really sort of, again, it's just idiosyncratically, uniquely Lawler. I can't imagine another DJ putting together a mix quite like this. The way this happened, the way this came about, was he had critical acclaim with the New Breed CD that he released on Global Underground. They came back to him the following year, or I think maybe it was a couple of years later, and offered him another one. And that's the way they worked, Global Underground. They would often work with the same DJs. So if you look at their releases, you'll see all the same names, your Sashas, your Dave Seamans, your Nick Warrens, your John Digweeds, etc. And obviously they came back to Steve, they wanted him to do another one for them. But Steve, being Steve, said, yeah, sure, I'll do another mix for you, but this needs to be something different. This needs to be a new line, a new direction. And they agreed, why wouldn't they? His reputation had exploded by this point. He was pretty much on the cusp of being that superstar DJ, or maybe even was at that point. So they agreed. So real ballsy move by Steve, and boy does it pay off. Again, how to describe this CD? It's got everything you know and have come to expect from Steve Lawler. The tribal drums, the sort of sexy, sleazy grooves, the cool vocals, but there's also in this, and this is the same for the other Lights Out mix CDs that come afterwards, he's injected a little bit of electro in there as well, which just works so well. It's the perfect blend of those kinds of styles of house, really. So this is the poem written on the inlay of the Lights Out 1 cover. I'll read it to you. Here we go. Who are you when the lights go out? In the crevices and crannies of a darkened room, innocent lovers blinkered and longing, a mess of writhing tongues and hair. The sound of breaking glass as a Betty Page lookalike in the corner drags her stilettoed heel down her shin. It makes her smile and reminds her she's alive. The dance floor is oozing, well-oiled and lubricated. Everybody's teeth look the same in UV. There's no rank and file. We are rank and defiled. And if the lights went on right now, the room would freeze like a flashbulb. It's never like that in the light, but in the dark, this whole world looks the same. So check yourself in with your coat. Get lost in these zombie grooves. Fear the flame. bring on the blackness. Fight the bright, bring on the dark. And on your way in, turn the lights out. Very cool. Very cool. I've prepared a clip from the second CD. This moment comes about a third of the way into the mix. Again, it's a transition between two tracks, and it just really captures what this mix CD is all about. So let's jump in and see what we think. More of those moody trademark vocals.
All I can remember is a song that goes like this, that goes like this, that goes like this, that goes like this, that goes like this.
Just so goddamn cool, isn't it, really? So 2002 was just that one release for Lawler, the Lights Out mix, but my god, what a release that was. He immediately follows that up in 2003 with the second in the Lights Out series, Lights Out 2. You can see it's a battered, frayed box. It's one of those cardboard covers, unfortunately, which don't tend to last the test of time. Although the amount that I've listened to this, I'm surprised it's not completely falling apart. It's a phenomenal mix, and something quite special about this, and I'll try and sum this up as best that I can. This kind of marks a bit of a transition in Lawler's sound from that late 90s, early noughties sound to where he is today. It's kind of a midway point, if you like. You've still got the tribal stuff, you've still got all of those trademarks of Lawler's that we know and love, but he ups the ante with the electro side of things, and there's even a faint sort of taste of the tech house sound that he's sort of very well known for now. I mean, obviously Lawler's always played tech house, it's just that tech house as a genre has changed. So what we called tech house 20 years ago, perhaps we wouldn't call that tech house today. I don't want to get bogged down in genre and sub-genre discussions because it's an absolute bloody minefield, to be honest. But yeah, this mix CD kind of looks back at Lawler's style, how it was up until that point, and looks ahead to where Lawler's style ultimately evolves to and progresses to. That's how I would describe it, and that's why it's an important CD. And it's very successful in how it achieves that as well. It's Lawler at his peak in terms of his career, really. I think that period between 2000 and 2005 is just, in terms of what he achieved, the way his stardom grew, and the output and the consistency of his output in terms of these mixes. It's a phenomenal period of time for him. I've prepared another clip from this CD because it's so good. So let's check it out. Those playful lyrics, again, so Lawler, a little bit naughty. Just pulsating, isn't it? Throbbing. So we're in the mix mix now, the next track coming in. So good, and really, you know, encapsulates what that mix is all about. That little segment, you know, it's does everything that I was, it puts across everything that I was trying to convey in terms of Lawler moving his sound a little bit and progressing with it. Remarkable mix CD, love it to death. Lights Out 2. 2005 comes with the third and final instalment of the Lights Out series, Lights Out 3. I guess you could call it a trilogy. And here it is. It marks that transition further in terms of Lawler's progression, his style changing a little bit. And there is more of that electro sound introduced in the earlier Lights Out mixes. That's really allowed to come to the fore more. Great mix CD. I prefer the first two. That's just my personal taste. If you're a fan of electro, you're probably going to like this one more. And actually the mix that follows this, which I'll be talking about in a moment, you'll probably really, really love that. For me, it's the early Lawler sound that really pushes my buttons, really gets me going. But it's all subjective, it's all down to personal taste, and it might be that this one is your favourite out of the three. It's a phenomenal mix any way you look at it. There's just no accounting for personal taste, I guess. We like what we like. And that brings me on to 2006, because he releases this huge 3 CD mix, Viva. Here we go. I really love the artwork of this. This is very cool. Might actually be my favourite artwork on any of his CDs. And the 3 CDs are Day 1, Day 2 and Day 3. And look how cool this looks. Let me show you this. Look at the colours. It's incredibly vibrant, bright, and that really tells you what to expect to some degree in the mix. It's a very sort of bubbly, full-on, unrestrained electro mix. That's how I would describe it. It's probably the most electro mix CD that Lawler's released. A great listen. Highly recommend it if you're into that particular sound. Released in 2006 on the cover of DJ Mag. It's called Face Off, and it's a versus CD, which is Audiophile versus Steve Lawler, or if you want to say back to back with Steve Lawler, perhaps that's better. There you go. And to be honest with you, this one feels a little bit cobbled together. And I think more Audiophile come through than Steve Lawler. That's just my take on it anyway. It's interesting reading the back because it promotes the Viva album, saying that his triple CD, Steve Lawler's triple CD, Viva the album, is out now on Ministry of Sound Recordings. So perhaps this was just designed as a bit of a promotional tool for the Viva mix CD, which is fine. It is a magazine cover CD, so you've got to have the right level of expectations with those. Every now and then some do come along which are phenomenal, but it's different to a mainline mix CD. 2007, and we have on Renaissance Recordings Steve Lawler, Viva London. Again, really like the artwork on this. This is very cool. And it's funny, I had the same listening experience on this mix every single time that I put it on. And it goes something like this. I'll stick it on, kind of 10 minutes in, I'm thinking, okay, let's not particularly enthralled at this point, but let's see, I get to the 20-minute mark, and again, I'm kind of thinking, a bit minimal, and it is very minimal, by the way. A bit slow, where's this going, not sure. And I guess I kind of feel a bit underwhelmed. We get to around the 30-40 minute mark, and something weird happens, and it happens every time, so I should be prepared for it. I kind of feel a little bit hypnotized. I kind of feel like the music's gotten under my skin, it's kind of seeped into my bones, and I'm subconsciously tapping my foot or nodding my head, doing whatever. And then as it progresses, we get to the sort of the 45-50 minute mark, and I'm saying to myself, this is one of the best mix CDs I've ever heard. This is one of my favourite of all time. I love it. And that happens every single time. So I guess what I take from that is it's something of a masterclass in building a set. As I've said, it is very minimal, and I think that's certainly not by accident. I think Steve Lawler was experimenting with a new kind of sound a little bit here. There are still some of the aspects of the Lawler sound that you would expect, but there's definitely some new areas as well, I would say. And that's Steve, always pushing the envelope, always trying something new, completely happy with the potential of alienating some of his fan base. For him, I can see it is just about, doing what he wants to do, doing what he loves, and pushing that forward. And he's always been like that. And a lot of the top DJs are like that. They're looking forward, as opposed to trying to recapture former glories and all that. They're not the most nostalgic of people. I love this CD, but it is a funny experience for me when I put it on. It's that same strange experience every time, So I'll try and remember that next time I put it on and just go with the flow a bit more. Great CD, really recommend it. Do check it out. The following year, he releases another one of the Viva kind of series. It's called Viva Toronto. Here we go. And, I thought, again, this was on Renaissance Recordings, by the way. And I thought at the time, another one. Okay, so this is going to be a series, we're going to perhaps get several more. Perhaps similar to how Global Underground do it, they move from city to city. I thought maybe, we'll get, I don't know, Paris, Argentina, who knows. But this was the last of the two. And again, it's quite minimal, but it's also got a bit more of the trademark Lawler groove there, a bit more soul at times. I really like it, and I can never decide which of the Viva London or the Viva Toronto CD I like the best. It's always whichever one I'm listening to at the time, So very hard to separate them both, which is good because it means, this concept is consistent, The two CDs are called, the first one is called Inside, the second one is called Outside. As you'd expect, Outside has a bit more of that terracey, outdoor vibe. CD1 is a bit more for your club, or your car or your bedroom, wherever the hell you want to listen to it. Great CD, love them both. And that's that. Released in 2009, We Love Space Sundays, number 9, Steve Lawler. Now, to be honest with you, I've only recently picked this up because I wanted, obviously, all of his CDs before I made this video. I'd never heard of this. I don't know where this was made available. It is on the Viva Music label, and maybe it's one of the first releases on the Viva Music label. I don't know. Maybe this was used as a promotional tool for the Viva Music label, quite possibly. And you can see on the back here, it's got the MySpace page address, which obviously tells you when this was. It was back in 2009. So I guess what Steve wanted to do with this was really capture that Ibiza terrace vibe that he became so well known for, to the point where they would call him King of the Terrace. And having never been to the Space Terrace, I know it's shocking, but I am just a poor working class boy. It's not the cheapest of places to go, let's be honest. Never got to experience it. One of my biggest regrets in life, really. But you know, I have the CD, so on a hot day I can sit out on the patio and put this on and just close my eyes and try and imagine planes flying over my head and surrounded by lots of cool, good-looking people. You know, powers of the imagination. But yeah, great CD, and it really helps transport you to Ibiza, to that space terrace. In 2010, we have the Sunrise Sessions. Steve Lawler presents the Sunrise Sessions Skybar / Government. Yeah. Now another one of his CDs, if I'm honest with you, that I've only recently purchased because I wasn't aware of it at the time, back in 2010. And this one caught me off guard, actually. It was really surprising how good it is. I was vaguely familiar of the venue, the Skybar of Government in Toronto, but I didn't realise what an institution that place actually was, and particularly what Steve used to do there. So, as the name of the CD suggests, Sunrise Sessions, he would get on, you know, very early in the morning and play through as the sun came up through to midday. And place looked phenomenal. I've watched some of the YouTube clips that are online, so you can check those out. In fact, I'll play a little one now while I'm talking. Phenomenal looking venue at the top of this nightclub in Toronto city centre. Really suited to Steve and his vibe, I think. And the CD itself is really cool. Yeah, it's got a lot of groove, a lot of soul. I was really surprised by how much I liked it, and since purchasing it only relatively recently, I've had it on a heck of a lot, so really enjoy that. 2011, we have the Lights Out Anniversary CD, so marking the 10-year anniversary of the first Lights Out compilation back in 2001. We have this little mix CD, two CDs in there, released on Viva Music, of course. And yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool. Really like it. Doesn't reach the same height as the 3 Lights Out mixes that were released, you know, previously. But as a kind of a modern day look back on those, yeah, it works. It's really cool. Really good. Finally, we are at the last CD. I know this has taken me quite a while to get through these, but you know, this is the format I decided upon. So hopefully it's been interesting, and I've not had any of you switch off or get bored by it. But yes, this one is the Viva Warriors mix, released by Lawler, who mixes disc 1, and Darius Sarosian, who mixes disc 2. Darius Sarosian is obviously now a well-established DJ. At the time, he was perhaps an up-and-coming person to watch, and like many of the DJs managed under Viva Music, he's got that kind of tech house style, I guess. But there is the trademark Lawler groove infused in there, even in Sarosian's style. And it's it's a cool mix CD. I like this a lot. And little did I know when I picked this up at the time that this would be the last officially released mix CD by Lawler. Obviously then we move into the world of podcasting, live streaming, downloads, etc. And that's how we consume music now, as I alluded to before, you know. And maybe to some degree it has become a bit more throwaway. But I will always come back to these mixed CDs. I will always come back to Lawler. Yeah, he's up there with one of the greatest DJs of all time, and that really comes through in these mixes, which have a kind of timeless feel to them. So, my top 3 mixed CDs released by Steve Lawler. Well, it's probably going to come as no surprise to you that number 1 it's got to be the New Breed mix. Just, you know, it encapsulates the excitement of that time and of that Lawler sound that he had created. And I kind of feel this in a way is the pinnacle of early noughties Lawler. So that early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, this is the CD that defines that sound and where Lawler was at that point. It's phenomenal. I can't recommend it highly enough. It will always take pride of place on my shelf, and I'll be listening to this, I'm sure, for another 20 years. I really will. And now for second and third, which this is a toughie because I've got to pick from, I think, 3 mixed CDs which really rank highly up there for me. And that would be the first Lights Out compilation, the second Lights Out compilation, and the second Dark Drums compilation. Obviously, I've been thinking about this, and I think ultimately I have to pick the first 2 Lights Out compilations. So let's see if I can find them. Lights Out 1, Lights Out 2, in that order. So we have New Breed number 1, Lights Out 1 number 2, Lights Out 2 number 3. And they've just edged the Dark Drums 2 mix out. As much as Dark Drums 2 will always carry a very special place in my heart and will be continued to be played to death, I think the thing that maybe edged it was this is a 1 CD mix, whereas the Lights Out compilations are a 2 CD mix, so you just get that much more music. And I think they're just a little bit more exciting for me. So that's every mix CD that I could get my hands on by Steve Lawler. I really think that's most of them, but please do tell me if I've missed any out. Really enjoyed doing that. Hopefully you've really enjoyed that as much as I have. Great fun. I'm going to be making more of these videos moving forward. Look out in the coming weeks for a top 10 Mixmag cover CDs video that I'm going to do. I'm also going to pick my top 5 global underground CDs, and I've got loads of more really great ideas for stuff coming up about dance music culture. I'm going to be doing some interviews with DJs, promoters, and all sorts of stuff like that. So please look out. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe to the channel. That would be a huge help. Please like the video, comment, share, all that stuff. Obviously up to you if you want to do that or not, but it would be a big help for me at the early stages of this channel if you could do that. So until those videos, I'll see you again another time. Peace.